This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so let me know once you are able to see my screen. I have 5 years of experience into automation testing. Yeah, so we usually have classes in GoToMeeting. Okay, so on daily basis you will get the recordings of your classes and the small key points on the class. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, let me put you a question like what is testing? Anyone has any idea, or you guys, anyone from IT background here?
Yes, I am from the IT background, from the testing side itself.
Okay, others?
So non-ITM.
Okay, fine, no issues. So what is testing? Like suppose now we have clients and clients requirement is now to develop some shopping website. Okay, so just by developing itself we can't make that website available to the end users. Correct, because there might be some issues where
Yeah.
developers can be done. Okay, so for this sake, testers plays a very important role. Okay, so without testing, we cannot make the product available to the end users. Clear? Now let's consider a shopping website. Now the client's first requirement is to uh, create a functionality for the registration. Okay, so now what our testers we have to do, once the registration functionality is developed, we have to see if all the fields that should appear on the registration page, like suppose let me click on this register button. Okay, so now this is our registration page. Okay, as you can see the page title demo webshop.register. So now the client requirements is once the user opens the registration page, he has to see the fields like gender, first name, last name, email, password, confirm password, and a register button. Okay, so now once the development is done, our testers, we as testers, we have to see if all the fields which is required by the client is mentioned in the registration page or not. Okay, and the second thing what we have to see if we are giving the input, if it is taking the correct data or not. Okay, like suppose the client requirement can be like in password there should be one capital letter and a few lowercase letters and one special character it should have, one few numeric numbers it should have. So if we are giving all these, it should consider. If we are not giving, if we are missing the special character in the password, it should throw an error like it should contain some special character. So all these are the requirements from our client. Okay, so we as testers, we have to test if the registration page that is developed by the developers is satisfying the client's requirements or not. Okay, so now again in testing, there are two types, manual testing and automation testing. So first coming to the manual testing. So what do we do in the manual testing? We manually enter the inputs into these fields and we manually test if they are working as per the client's requirements or not. Okay, so this is manual testing. And what is automation testing? Automation testing is the same flow that we follow in the manual testing, but just the only difference is we do not enter, we do not perform any actions manually on the application. Okay, so using one tool, we perform all the actions what we do it in manually. Okay, what we do it in the manual testing. So this is automation testing. So without the human interference, we are automating our scripts. We are testing the client's requirements. So this is the automation testing. Now let's consider this Tosca tool. Okay, so now Tosca tool is also one of the automation tool. Okay, so without our human interference, we can perform the actions on the application using the Tosca tool. So is this clear for everyone? Can I
Yes,
get
yes.
some response?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So apart from the automation tool, Tosca is also a test management tool. Okay. So now what is the test management tool? A tool which gives the feasibility for the user, for the testers to create the end-to-end process. Like suppose, so what is the first process we have to do? We have to get the requirements, like we have to create the requirements. Now our Tosca tool, it allows us to create the requirements in the Tosca and to generate the reports. Once our testing is done, we can generate the reports just by clicking a button, report. Okay, so that feature is also available in Tosca. So that is why, since it is allowing us to do all the end-to-end process, this tool is also called as test management tool. Okay, even the risk coverage analysis is also done in the Tosca tool. Okay, so we have multiple features in the Tosca tool, and then one most important thing is like we do not require any coding language for this tool. Okay, anyone can easily learn this tool. It is easy to maintain, easy to create the scripts. It gives us the quick results. All these multiple, like it supports some multiple technologies as well, like even the SAP applications and Salesforce applications, web applications, and the legacy applications. All these applications can be automated using the Tosca tool. Okay, so that is the reason now it has so much demand in the market. Okay, isn't it interesting? Like suppose, like without the coding language, you can easily learn how to automate the application, and that too, automating the different technologies. It's it's really interesting. That's why Tosca has so much demand. Okay, now let's take an example. Now I'm actually working parallelly in two projects. Okay, so one project is like it was actually developed UFT scripts. Okay, so now they are migrating the UFT scripts into the Tosca. Like from the scratch we are creating the Tosca scripts. So they are switching from UFT to Tosca, and I've seen the projects they are switching from Selenium to Tosca. Okay, because it is easy to maintain and someone can easily learn. Okay, so now I'll show you a sample test case how to create in Tosca. Like how do we like without some coding, how do we actually identify an element, how we perform actions on that element. Let me show you a some example, basic sample example. Okay, so now every application, it will have a visible elements and invisible elements on the screen. Correct. So what are these visible elements? Like this text box, some buttons, or radio buttons. All these are the visible elements. Okay. So what will be the invisible elements? Like if you have some HTML idea, so you will be having divs, span, UL, all these things. Okay, let me show you. So now this is a web application. Like all the web applications will have the DOM structure. Okay, so what is this DOM structure? DOM structure is the HTML code. So what this contains is, now we have this register element. Okay, so for each and every element, we will have some HTML properties in order to identify them unique. Okay, so now this DOM structure will have the properties of this element as well as and where that element has to be placed. All these together we call it as DOM structure. Okay, so if you want to see, just right click this element, you have this inspect option. Click this inspect. So now see, you can see the properties of this element. Since it is a link, see, when I mouse over on this register, you can see a line below that. Okay, so this is a link, hyperlink. That is why it has a and href. Href, we usually have this property for links and tag as a, and this is the class name for this element, and this is the inner text for this element. Similarly, you will have the properties for all the elements on this page. Okay, so this is the DOM structure. Okay, so if you mouse over, it will show it on the screen which element it is representing. Okay, so now let's come to the automation. Automation has two phases. Okay, so one is the identification phase. Okay, and the second one is the actions that needs to be performed. Okay, so in this identification phase, what we usually do, the name itself, it is giving us the idea. Like we have to identify the element which is present on the screen by its properties. Okay, this is identification phase. We have to select the properties of the element in such a way that the properties which we are selecting, it should not match with any of the other element properties. Okay, so all this is done in the identification phase. Again, in the identification phase, we have many techniques, okay, in order to identify that element as unique. And now the second phase is the actions that needs to be performed. So if we want to click some button or if we want to enter some text into the field, first of all we have to identify that field as unique, and the second thing is whatever action we want to perform, if it is a button we'll click, or if it is a text will give input, or if already the input already the some data is populated in the text, we can actually store or verify the data. All these are the actions we will perform once we identify an element. So these are the two phases we have in the automation. Okay, so let's see in Tosca. Okay, so this is our Tosca tool. It looks like, okay, now I'm trying to automate a sample thing. Okay, just so this is the module section in Tosca. Okay, so what I told in the automation, the first phase is the identification of the elements, right? So that identification in Tosca, it is done in the module section. Okay, so what is this module section? It actually captures all the HTML properties, all the technical properties of the element. Okay, so just right click on this module folder, you have an option called scan. Okay, just scan, and here you have application, just click on that. So now it will launch a window. Okay, so that window contains the applications that are opened in our desktop. Okay, so now it is showing the applications that are open in my desktop. Okay, now we have to choose the application which we want to automate. So you can just double click this application or select this one and click on the scan button. Okay, so I'm double clicking it. Now this is the Xscan window. Okay, so what is this Xscan window? this Xscan window in Tosca, it loads all the DOM structure of our web page, of our application which we are choosing. Okay, so now it has loaded this DOM structure. Okay, so now that is the reason you are able to see all the elements which are present on the screen here. Okay, register, login, shopping cart, wish list, search, all these books, computers, all the elements which are present on the screen. Okay, if you want to see the whole DOM structure, you have a filter line here. Okay, just move it to the end. Okay, so now you can see all the DOM structure of this web page. Now you want to select some elements on this screen. So how do you do that? You have an option called select on screen. Okay, just click select on screen and you can select whatever things you want to identify on this page. Okay, you can either select from here, or let me remove. So this is the view it has opened, no, this when Xscan launched. Okay, you can even select from here as well. Okay, and now if you want to see which element is representing on this web page, okay, now suppose this register, what, where is that element? If you want to find it on this web page, you have an option called highlight selection here. Okay, just select this register and click on highlight selection. You can see, okay, which element it is representing on the screen. Similarly, this login, this shopping cart, and this wish list. Okay, now just see this register, and here in this window you can see all the properties of this register button, register link. Okay, so now you can see the same class name, okay, and inner text and the tag as a. Okay, so you have to select these properties. Okay, so in the later classes I'll tell you which all the properties you can select and which all the properties to avoid. Okay, there will be few properties which are dynamic, so we have to wisely select the properties in such a way that whatever properties we are selecting, they should be unique. Okay, they should be static, so that in future when we run our test cases, it will pass. Okay, suppose if you select a property which is dynamic, and when you run your test case after 2 days, that property has changed, and now Tosca will not identify which element it is on the screen. Okay, so now that is the reason identification of the element with choosing the properties is very important. Okay, not only in Tosca, in every other automation tool it is very important. Okay, so now just a simple one. Let's remove this one. Okay, just two things, let's keep it simple. Inner text and tag a. Okay, so it has the inner text as login, which is always static. Okay, and the tag a, since it is a hyperlink, you will have tag a. Okay, so we can rely on these two properties. They are static, they do not have any numbers or anything which keeps on changing. That's why we are good to select with these two properties. And now save this one. Come to the module section. Okay, and once closing that Xscan window, once you are done with choosing that properties, when you come to the Tosca, you have to click on save button. Only then whatever module you have created will get saved. Otherwise, if you close this Tosca and if you open, this will not be present. Okay, so make sure once you create your module, you are clicking on save button. Now how do we create a test case? Now identification phase is done. Okay, so now what is our next phase? We have to perform some action with the element we have identified. Okay, just go to this test case section, right click here and click on create test case. Okay, so a new test case is created. Okay, and now you have to drag and drop this module onto this test case. Okay, so I'm just dragging and dropping this module onto this test case. Okay, and now if you want to click on this register, just you have a drop down here. Okay, just select click here and your action mode automatically changes to input. Okay, now you have done this change. No, after that click on save. Okay, so let's run this test case and see. Okay, so did you notice it just clicked on that register link? Okay, so this is one sample example I've shown you just to get an idea how we actually automate a test case or something which do not require coding language. Okay, so is this clear for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone has any doubt? It's actually a very easy
Hello.
tool. Yes. Hello.
What about requirements and test? Can you explain?
Yes, so you have a section called requirements here. Okay, so in this section we will create all our requirements. Like suppose if you have some idea on Jira or manual testing, okay, we have something called epics, right? So here in Tosca we call it as requirement set. Okay, so this is that requirement set.
Yeah.
So yeah, under this requirement set we will create the requirement. Okay, so this is the epic and this is the user story. Okay, this is how we actually create all our requirements. Okay, and we map the
So this
each
is no
test
need to
case
think.
onto the requirement. Once we create requirement, and for this requirement we'll be having some test cases, right? We will map all those test cases onto this requirement. Okay, so that is the reason I've told, like in Tosca we can
Can you
do
show an
this.
example for requirements?
Okay, now suppose if your requirement is something to validate user registration. Okay, okay, 1 second. Okay, so if you have this test case and two more test cases, if you have further validation, then you can simply map your test case onto this requirement. Okay, simply you will map it. And here we have in the test case section we have something called work state. Okay, So we have three types of work states here: planned, in work, and completed. Okay, so based on your work state, this test case icon will also get changed. Now these two work states, these two test cases right now have the work state as planned. Okay, you can change it to in work and see this test case icon is also got changed. So based on this work states and based on the inputs you are giving here, it will show the coverage, how much coverage it has completed, and your execution status also. Once you execute these test cases, it will show the execution state, like how many are passed, how many are failed, and how much coverage it has completed. All these things it will show. This is how we create requirements in Tosca. Is that clear?
Yeah, clear.
Okay.
What about test case designs, ma'am? Designs and text execution.
Yeah, so this is the execution section where we actually execute our test cases. Okay, so we will have the all the tester logs, all the like whenever you run some test case, a log will be created, right? So we can see all these logs here in this execution. Okay, and this test case design section is nothing but you have something called data driven framework, correct? So one, you will create a template, okay, and you will match your the test case. So in the test case design section, you will actually create the attributes and its values. Okay, it's just like the test data. You will create your test data and you will create a template in your test case, and through that test data, and you will map this test data onto this template, and you will create multiple test cases. Like suppose if you take some banking application or something, insurance application. Okay, let's consider the banking application. In banking applications, you will be having many user roles, right? You will be having a manager user role or some supervisor user role or reviewer user roles. Okay, so for all these user roles, you need not create so many test cases, okay, right from the scratch. You will just create, because the flow will be the same. Okay, maybe the rights they have differs. Okay, that is the reason this test case design section is implemented. You will just create one template for all the user roles, okay, but you can create multiple test cases just with one template. That can be achieved
Okay.
using test case design section. Okay, so you need not create multiple test cases from the scratch for all the user roles. Okay. You will just create one test case, that's all.
One platform they can use all employees.
Yeah.
Hello?
So one test case, in the sense one template. So through that template, you can develop actually multiple test cases. Like for your manager role, one test case; for your supervisor role, one test case; and for reviewer role, one test case. In such a way that can be achieved using this test case design section, which is very important in Tosca.
I do have one question regarding that
Yes.
Tosca.
Okay.
Actually, in the execution phase, we usually perform some validation point, like if we are checking like that this link is properly working, or are we seeing this particular text after clicking on particular link. So where we put all this, validation point in our testing in
All these
Tosca.
validation points we can do it in Tosca. That we will do it in the test case design. It's sorry, in the test case section itself.
Okay.
All the validations, whatever validations you have asked, right? All can be achieved in Tosca.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the test case, section itself.
Yes, in the test case section itself, you will put all your conditions, whatever you want to perform actions, whatever you want to verify, you want to give input, or you want to get the dynamic data which has generated during the runtime of your test case. That all can be achieved in the test case section itself.
Okay, great. Thank you. And one more thing, I mean, usually while doing testing, we usually don't, I mean, perform by, I mean, manually, I mean, performing each and every test, test cases. So we usually run the test suite. So can we do this in the Tosca as well?
Yes, we can do it. That is the reason we have one section called execution. Okay. So
Okay,
in the module section, you will just identify the elements, technical properties. Okay. So in the test case section, you will perform all your validations. Okay. If you want to put some conditions, if you want to put some verification, if you want to get the data from the screen during the runtime, all these things you will do it in the test case section itself. Okay, and this requirement section you can create. Now I have shown, right, this is something called requirement set, which we call it as epic in our Jira. And this is requirement, which is a user story, and these are the test cases we actually map onto the requirements. Okay, and now in the test case design, as I told, if we have some multiple user roles, if we so for all the user roles, instead of creating the test cases right from the scratch, we'll just create one template. Okay, so in such a way that it will be useful, we will all put some conditions. Okay, so that it one template is useful for all the multiple roles, and we'll create multiple test cases with just one template. Okay, so that is the part of this test case design. Okay, and this is the test planning. Sorry, this is the project. Like our whole project is shown in a structured way. Okay, all these sections again you will see here. Okay, and this is the execution part where you actually execute. You will see your test the number of test cases fail. All you will pull the reports. All the logs are saved in this execution section. Is this clear?
yeah, it's clear now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
can we consider the test module as a complete framework of a project?
test module as
Complete framework of a project.
complete framework in the sense, can you elaborate? I actually
I
didn't
mean,
get your.
actually, while doing, I mean, in some other tests, I mean, test suite like Selenium or UFT, we prepare framework for our project, which
Correct.
provide the I mean, which provide the modularity and all this thing in our project. So can I
Yeah, yeah.
consider this, yeah,
Yes,
test folder?
this is that section. This is that section,
Okay,
module section.
great.
Okay, others, any other questions?
Madam, can you explain about a brief history of Tosca and what is the future of in this course?
What is the
History
your
and next, what is the future? Hello?
yeah. So like if you remember, I have already answered to your question. Okay, so I've told, like, I'm working in two projects. Okay, one project is like it has developed the automation scripts in UFT, and now they wanted to switch it to the Tosca. Okay, so since this is something which we do not require some coding knowledge, and it's very easy to do, and now we have so much demand in the market for Tosca, because so many projects are now switching to the Tosca tool. Okay, so it's again it's a licensed tool. Okay, if you
Yeah.
don't have any idea, it's a licensed tool.
So many tools are coming now, madam. RFT like that. So how many years is this tool is going on like that?
How many years? See, how many years we cannot answer for any of the tool right now. Okay,
Yeah.
but now we have so much of demand for Tosca, and you have so many openings for Tosca as well. And if you are someone, if you want to switch to automation, and if you are a beginner, then I will suggest Tosca is the right tool which you are going.
Yeah. Are you
Ma'am, I
providing
have a
only
doubt.
training?
Sorry?
I have a doubt. Actually, being a freshers, is he eligible to attend a TOSCA, or is the company, does the company recruit the person if he studies TOSCA tool, ma'am?
Why
Because
not?
nowadays I heard that, if you have minimum 1 year, 2 years of experience or more than that, they are easily recruiting. But being a freshers, though they have completed TOSCA or some XYZ tools, they are not bothering. So that is the reason I'm asking, ma'am.
See, first of all, you remove it from the mind like you don't have experience. Okay, they will consider only the experience candidates. Okay, can
Okay.
someone go on mute? Someone, I can hear my voice now. If you really have good knowledge on Tosca, and if you are really talented in something, you in automation, then what is why do they do not hire you? Okay, just because of your experience? No, they will not consider it. Okay, even though if you don't have the experience, they will test your knowledge, then test your capability. Okay, so that's why gain good knowledge in Tosca and impress them.
Okay. And may I know who are all eligible for attending this TOSCA, I mean, to learn this TOSCA tool, ma'am? Whether any graduates, or only the person who completed computer science, or other persons, whether we'll be eligible for from different backgrounds, I'm
A
asking.
different backgrounds are also eligible. It's not like only this particular people are eligible to learn Tosca. Okay,
Okay.
anyone who has good knowledge on Tosca, they can get a good opportunity.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
Your
any
voice
other
is getting
questions?
resound, ma'am.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Actually, I'm from like I have some knowledge on Android, but directly I'm attending these TOSCA means it's little bit means someone asking questions. Now, see, I don't know. I mean, say, anything about testing and like these all, but it bit means the technology was new, na, so a little bit not confusion, but it was. Uh,
Okay.
Mm, yes, it
Okay.
was like little bit from my point of view, it bit like yes, yeah, like difficult, like
Okay. So see, when we face difficulty, when we see all the new things around us, okay, when we want to grab all the new concepts at a time, you will face difficulty. Okay, but that difficulty will only be for few days. Okay, so initially, now you are very new to the IT background, very new to the Tosca tool, so you will find completely new. Okay, but once you understand the concept, it's actually a very easy tool. Okay, so initially, if you want to learn any other technology, not only the Tosca, any other technology, you have to put some efforts at the beginning. Okay, so once you put your efforts, once you understand the concepts, then you will feel it easy. Don't get scared like you need. Like you don't have prior knowledge on this automation tool. Okay,
yeah, okay.
initially you need to put efforts, but once you put the effort, it will be very easy, and you will have good opportunities.
And directly freshers they are recruiting this TOSCA means for fresher opening was there. Otherwise, you can put an experience or something like that.
No, for freshers also we do have openings for Tosca.
Part.
Okay.
See, I'm having 7 years of experience in manual testing. I'm currently working in the Agile software. So if if I choose this training and complete this training, then how much of experience can I show in my resume for Tosca? Because somewhere in the, down the line, I have to switch and take this Tosca as my,
Hmm.
expertise. So how much of
Hmm.
experience I can show in that
Uh,
case?
you can show 3 years of experience. It see you can show if you go through this training properly. If you have get good hands on, you can very well show 3 years or 4 years of experience. It all depends on you, how much knowledge you gain, how much practice you, how much effort you put in the background.
So how will perform practice in this Tosca because it's a paid tool. So how will I?
Yeah, we have the trial license. Okay,
Okay,
you
okay.
all will get a hands-on this. Even though it's a license tool, we have a trial license. Okay, so that we can install it in our laptop. We can practice how many times you want. Okay, we have the license, trial license.
So for how many days I can use the trial license? I mean, it set some duration, I guess.
So with one email ID, you can get 8 weeks, like 2 months of trial license. Okay, if you want to extend it, like we have to create one more duplicate Gmail ID, and with that Gmail ID, you can request license how many other times you want.
Okay, okay. So in that case, suppose after 6 months, if I want to change my job or if I want to change my project in my same company,
You
so
need
at,
not wait for 6 months.
no, no, I'm not saying like because it's a it's a 2 month package basically. The license thing. Okay,
Huh.
and if I take more than 2 months for practice and I want to change the job after 4 months or 5 months, so
Okay.
in that case I need at least two or three, one or two license more in
Yes,
that
you
case.
can get it. See, it's this. How do you request this license? I'll tell it in the first class. Okay.
Okay.
So you can request how many ever times you want, but one thing you remember, with one Gmail ID, with one
Hmm.
email ID, you can request twice. Okay, so that is valid
Okay.
for 8 weeks. If you want more than for 8 weeks, then you can create one more Gmail ID. Okay,
Hmm.
request from the new Gmail ID. Again, you will get it 8 weeks. If you want more than that, again create one Gmail account, request with that new account, you will get it 8 weeks. This way you can you will get license. How many ever months you want, you can get it. There is
Okay.
no issue
Okay.
with
Fair enough.
license.
Fair enough. And one more thing, as this tool is, new to the market. Just 4 or 5 years back it came. So, will you be providing any documents or notes or anything for preparation of interview? Because it's a new tool and not so. There's not very much document available in the internet. So, can you provide all this thing? Will you provide all this thing?
Yes, like Tricentis people, they have actually given the manuals. Okay, which is
Okay.
like you need not even in the Google also you can get the very good information.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
search for a query, you even in the Google also you can get. And Tricentis people, they have created a very good manual. And they this web shop, this demo web shop, it's actually created by the Tricentis people only for our
Okay.
practice. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Others, any other questions? Okay. Okay, then I'm considering it as no more questions. I hope this
And
demo
will you
session.
and sorry to interrupt you. And will you be will you be providing the details like fee structure and the duration of the course and all this thing?